The Spirit's Book, containing the principles of the Spiritist doctrine, concerning the immortality of the soul, the nature of spirits and their relationships with humankind, moral laws, the present life, the future life, and the destiny of humanity, according to the teachings given by highly evolved spirits through several mediums, received and coordinated. By Allan Kardec. Part 2. The Spirit World, or the World of Spirits. Chapter 1. Spirits. The origin and nature of spirits.
How may we define spirits?
We can say that spirits are intelligent beings of creation. They populate the universe beyond the material world.
Are spirits beings distinct from the divinity, or are they only emanations or portions of the divinity, the reason why they are called the children of God?
Heavens, they are God's work. It is like a man who builds a machine, for example. The machine is the man's work, but it is not the man himself. You know that when individuals make nice and useful things, they call them their children, their creation. Well then, it is the same with God. We are God's children because we are products of the divine work.
Did spirits have a beginning, or have they existed from all eternity like God?
If spirits had no beginning, they would be equal to God. On the contrary, they are God's creation and subject to the divine will. God has existed from all eternity, that is incontestable, but we know nothing as to when and how we spirits were created. You could say that we had no beginning if you mean that since God is eternal, then God must have always and unceasingly created spirits. Nevertheless, when and how each of us was created individually, I will repeat, no one knows. It is a mystery.
Since there are two general elements in the universe, i.e. the intelligent element and the material element, could we say that spirits are formed from the intelligent element, while inert bodies are formed from the material element?
Obviously, spirits are individualizations of the intelligent principle, just as bodies are individualizations of the material principle. It is the time and manner of this formation that we do not know.
Is the creation of spirits continuous, or did it only occur at the beginning of time?
It is continuous, which means that God has never ceased creating them.
Are spirits formed spontaneously, or do they proceed from one another?
Like all other creatures, God creates them by the divine will, but let me repeat once more, their origin is a mystery.
Is it correct to say that spirits are immaterial?
How can we define something when we have no terms for comparison, and when we only have an insufficient language at our disposal? Can one who is born blind define light? Immaterial is not the right word. Incorporeal would be more precise, because you should understand that since it is a creation, a spirit must be something. A spirit is quintessentialized matter 25. Thus, you have no analogies for describing it. It is also so etherealized that your senses cannot perceive it.
Do spirits have an end? We can understand that the principle from which they emanate is eternal. But what we are asking is whether or not their own individuality will come to an end, and whether or not, like material bodies, at some given time in the near or distant future, the element from which they have been formed will disintegrate and return to the mass from which it came. It is difficult to understand how something that had a beginning would not also have an end.
There are many things that you do not understand because your intelligence is limited. But that is no reason to reject them. A child does not understand everything that its parents understand, nor does an uneducated person understand all that a scholar understands. We are saying that spirits' individual existences never come to an end. That is all that we can say for now.
The primitive, normal world.
Do spirits comprise a separate world beyond the one we see?
Yes, the world of spirits or incorporeal intelligences.
Which of the two, the spirit world or the corporeal one, is the principal one in the order of things?
The spirit world. It is pre-existent to and will survive everything else.
Could the corporeal world cease to exist? or might it never have existed in the first place, without altering the essence of the spirit world?
Yes, they are independent of each other, yet their correlation is unceasing because they continually react upon each other.
Do spirits occupy a specific circumscribed region of space?
Spirits are everywhere. They populate infinite space in infinite numbers. There are even some who are constantly at your side, observing and acting upon you without your being aware of it. This is because spirits are one of the powers of nature and one of the instruments that God uses for fulfilling the providential designs. However, not all spirits can go everywhere because there are regions that are forbidden to those who are less advanced. The form and ubiquity of spirits.
Do spirits have a specific, limited, and constant form?
To your eyes, no. To ours, yes. You might say they resemble a flame, a glow, or an ethereal spark.
Do spirits take any amount of time to travel across space?
Yes, but they are as fast as thought itself.
Is a spirit who moves from one place to another conscious of the distance it travels and the space it crosses? Or is it suddenly at the place to which it wanted to go?
Either way, if it wants to, a spirit can be perfectly aware of the distance it crosses, or such distance may seem to disappear completely. It all depends on the spirit's will and the degree to which its nature is purified.
Is matter an obstacle to spirits?
No, they can pass through anything. The air, the earth, water, and even fire are all equally accessible to them.
Do spirits have the gift of ubiquity? In other words, can one and the same spirit divide itself up or be at various points all at the same time?
A spirit cannot divide itself up. However, each is a center radiating in different directions, and that is why it appears to be in many places all at the same time. Look at the sun. The sun is only one body, yet it radiates all around and sends its rays to great distances. Nevertheless, it does not divide itself up.
The form and ubiquity of spirits.
Do spirits have a specific, limited, and constant form?
To your eyes, no. To ours, yes. You might say they resemble a flame, a glow, or an ethereal spark.
Do spirits take any amount of time to travel across space?
Yes, but they are as fast as thought itself.
Is a spirit who moves from one place to another conscious of the distance it travels and the space it crosses? Or is it suddenly at the place to which it wanted to go?
Either way, if it wants to, a spirit can be perfectly aware of the distance it crosses, or such distance may seem to disappear completely. It all depends on the spirit's will and the degree to which its nature is purified.
Is matter an obstacle to spirits?
No, they can pass through anything. The air, the earth, water, and even fire are all equally accessible to them.
Do spirits have the gift of ubiquity? In other words, can one and the same spirit divide itself up or be at various points all at the same time?
A spirit cannot divide itself up. However, each is a center radiating in different directions, and that is why it appears to be in many places all at the same time. Look at the sun. The sun is only one body, yet it radiates all around and sends its rays to great distances. Nevertheless, it does not divide itself up.
The Perispirit.
Is the spirit per se without a covering, or as some insist, is it surrounded by some kind of substance?
The spirit is surrounded by a substance that might look vaporous to you, but which is still quite dense to us. Nevertheless, it is sufficiently vaporous to be able to raise itself up into the air and travel to wherever it wants to go.
Where does a spirit get this semi-material envelope?
From each globe's own universal fluid. That is why the perispirit is not the same on all worlds. In passing from one world to another, spirits change their envelope just as you change your clothes.
Does the spirit's semi-material envelope have a specific form, and can it be seen?
Yes, it takes on form. according to the Spirit's volition, and that is how it sometimes appears to you in dreams or in the waking state, and how it may take on a visible and even tangible form.
The different orders of spirits.
Are all spirits equal, or is there some kind of hierarchy among them?
They are of different orders according to their individual degree of self-purification.
Are there a set number of orders or degrees of purification among spirits?
The number is unlimited because there is no line of demarcation that acts as a barrier between each order. Thus, the divisions may be multiplied or decreased at will. However, if we consider their general characteristics, we may reduce them to 3 principal orders. In the first order, we may put those who have already reached perfection, the pure spirits. In the second are those who have reached the middle of the scale. Their main concern is the desire to do the good. In the third are those who are toward the bottom of the scale, the imperfect spirits. These are characterized by ignorance, the desire for wrongfulness, and all the passions that delay their advancement.
Do the spirits of the second order only possess the desire to do the good, or do they also have the ability to actually do it?
Their ability depends on their degree of purification. Some possess scientific knowledge, others wisdom and goodness. All of them, however, have trials that they must yet endure.
Are all spirits of the third order altogether bad?
No, some do neither good nor evil. Others, however, actually take pleasure in evil and are pleased when they find an opportunity for it. Still others are frivolous or foolish spirits, more mischievous than wicked. These take more pleasure in spite than evil, and they also take pleasure in amusing themselves by vexing people and causing them petty annoyances and then laughing about it.
The progression of spirits.
Are spirits good or bad by nature, or may they seek to improve themselves?
They may improve themselves, and as they do so, they pass from a lower order to a higher one.
Have some spirits been created good and others bad?
God has created all spirits simple and ignorant, i.e., without knowledge. God has given each of them a mission. It is aimed at enlightening them and progressively leading them toward perfection through knowledge of the truth in order to draw them near to God. In that perfection, they will find eternal bliss without any troubles. Spirits acquire knowledge by experiencing the trials that God has imposed on them. Some humbly accept these trials and thus arrive more quickly at their destiny, whereas others cannot endure them without complaining. Thus, through their own fault, these latter ones remain far from perfection and bliss promised to them.
Are there spirits who remain forever in the lower orders?
No, all will become perfect. They change, albeit slowly, for, as we once said, a just and merciful Father cannot banish his children forever. Do you think that God, who is so great, so good, and so just, could be worse than you yourselves?
Does it depend on spirits themselves to hasten their advancement toward perfection?
Absolutely. The amount of time it takes them depends on their desire and submission to God's will. Doesn't a well-behaved child learn faster than one who is obstinate?
Could God exempt spirits from the trials that are required of them to reach the first order?
If they had been created already perfect, they would not deserve to enjoy the benefits of that perfection. Where would the merit be without the struggle? Besides, inequality among them is necessary for their personalities to develop, while the missions entrusted to them in the various degrees of the hierarchy reside in the designs of providence for ensuring the harmony of the universe.
Must all spirits pass through the trials of evil to reach the good? Not evil, but ignorance.
Not evil, but ignorance.
Why have some spirits followed the path of the good, but others the path of evil?
Don't they have free will? God does not create bad spirits. They are created simple and ignorant, that is, capable of both good and evil. Those who are bad have become so through their own will.
At their origin, how are spirits free to choose between good and evil when they are not yet self-aware? Is there some inner principle or tendency that leads them more toward one side than the other?
Free will develops as the spirit acquires self-awareness. There would be no actual choice if it were made by a cause extraneous to the spirit's will. The cause is not within the spirit, but outside in the influences to which it yields in virtue of its free will. This is the great symbol of the fall of humankind and original sin. Some yielded to temptation, others resisted it.
Why does God allow spirits to follow the path of evil?
How do you dare ask God to give account for the divine acts? Do you think you can delve into God's will? Instead, you should say that God's wisdom is found in the freedom of choice that has been granted to each spirit, so that each one may have the merit of its own deeds.
There are spirits who follow the path of the absolute good from the beginning, while others follow the path of absolute evil. Aren't there gradations between these two extremes?
Yes, certainly. They are the paths taken by the vast majority.
Will those spirits who follow the path of evil be able to arrive at the same degree of elevation as the others?
Yes, but the eternities will be much longer for them.
In God's sight, are the spirits who reach the highest degree after having gone down the path of evil less meritorious than the others?
God looks upon those who have gone astray with the same regard and loves all of them in the same way. They are regarded as bad because they have succumbed. Before that, they were nothing more than simple spirits.
Are all spirits created equal with regards to their intellectual faculties?
They are all created equal, but since they do not know where they come from, they must develop their free will. They progress in both intelligence and morality at different rates.
Angels and demons.
Do the beings we call angels, archangels, and seraphim form a special category that is different in nature from that of the other spirits?
No, these are the pure spirits, those at the highest degree of the hierarchy, inherently perfect in every way.
Have the angels also passed up through all of the degrees?
They have passed up through all of them, but as we have already said, some accepted their mission without grumbling and thus were able to arrive more quickly. Others took a longer or shorter amount of time to reach perfection.
If the opinion holding that there are beings that were created perfect and superior to all others from the start is erroneous, how does one explain their presence in the traditions of nearly all cultures?
You need to understand that your world has not existed from all eternity, and that long before it existed, there were already spirits of the highest degree. Hence, people assume they have always been perfect.
Are there demons in the usual sense of the word?
If there were demons, they would be the work of God, nevertheless. But would God be just and good in creating unfortunate beings that are eternally turned towards evil? If there are demons, they reside on your less evolved world and on other similar ones. They are the hypocritical men and women who portray a just God as a cruel and vindictive one. They are those who imagine they can please God by the abominable behaviors they commit in the divine name.